Hi guys, and welcome back to RedStone Productions. I'm really excited to show you three different pieces we want to compare. So we have three recreations of the legendary Pultec EQs, ranging from 3.5k to 400 euros for a stereo pair. As you guys might know, the Pultec EQs have been around since 1951, been featured on so many records that you cannot live without it. I'm such a big fan of them, just like with the 1176, that had to have three stereo pairs. Now, the idea behind this review is to show you what's the difference between a 3.5k stereo Pultec clone from Summit Audio versus a 400 euros, very nicely priced Klark Teknik versus a middle price IGS Rubber Bands, which sells for 1.5k. This EQ is also known as a program EQ because it got used again since the 50s on the main program material. When I say that, I mean either the mono track or the stereo track, because that's what was available back in the days. That doesn't stop us to actually use it on single or mono sources, which, for instance, I love it on bass, I love it on vocals, and I'm still a very huge fan on the stereo bus because it gives you that unique frequency shift, which makes your stereo bus basically more pumpy on the low end and more exciting on the high end. I used to call it the boom and fizz. This EQ is also known as a passive EQ because it's built around a passive circuit with the tube amp coupled with the transformer to make up the gain that you would lose when the signal would pass through the passive circuit. Of course, the three different recreations from Summit Audio, the Polish brand IGS, and Klark Teknik are slightly different. Of course, the first thing to notice is that the IGS uses a external power supply, a pretty big one actually, as you can see, while the other two have a built-in power supply. The other difference is in the frequency selections. If we actually have a quick look at the frequency selection, we will see that there's some slight differences between the three different units. First of all, let's start from the top, the most expensive Pultec clone, that's the Summit Audio EQP-200B. I use it most of the times on the stereo bus, on the main star, which might be the lead vocal or some guitars. I love the way this unit colors the sound. Just by passing through the unit with no EQ, it will already give you instant glorious sound. As you can see, we have two main frequency bands that we can boost and cut. I should say there's a third one, but this is only for a cut, which we'll get into a second. If we look at the actual layout of the unit, the Summit Audio is showing us a dual mono EQ, so it's a dual mono unit, which basically allows us to EQ the left and right differently, or if we want to use it on different materials, we can use it, I don't know, on the kick and the bass and have two different settings. While that's something on the stereo unit from IGS we won't get. That's a stereo unit, which has its pluses, so you don't have to, fine tune and make sure that the left is exactly at the same spot. I must say the boost and cut controls are continuous rotary knobs, which kind of makes it more difficult to, recall a setting. But what's really good about all of these units is that the frequency selection is always stepped. So you're somehow limited. If you want to go in between 30 and 60 Hz, you can really do that, but that's also the beauty of these EQs. Frequency selection on the low end is 20 Hz, 30 Hz, 60 Hz, 100 Hz, and 180 Hz. And these selections will be enabled for both the boost and cut. Be aware that all of these units are supposed to have a total boost, so makeup gain of about 15 decibels, so all the way up you get about 15 decibels of boost at that frequency. And I must say that the cut all the way to the right will not cut as much. So with this setting I will basically get more low end than if I would not be onto the circuit. This is one of the unique features of the Pultecs, that you're boosting and cutting the same frequency. Might sound like, I don't know, maybe counterintuitive, but I can tell you that basically the way it's been designed is so that the curves allow you to give it an extra push, let's say on the low lows, and cut it to make sure that there's no muddiness being added into the signal itself. The second and probably the most used frequency is the 16 kHz and the 12 kHz. These are extremely useful of both program material and main sources to bring the air content out of the signal. So I normally would go to either 12 or 16, give it a tight boost, say 4, pick up a bandwidth which is not super sharp, so 12, 1 o'clock, and then cut a little bit less than what I'm boosting. So if I'm boosting, let's say 3 or 4, I'm probably gonna cut 2.5. And the way the high-end cut works, it's at these 3 different frequencies: 20 kilohertz, 10 kilohertz, or 5 kilohertz. And which one I would select, it would be highly dependent on which frequency I'm boosting. Moving down to the next less expensive unit, the rubber bands. So what makes this unit very, very unique is the fact that you have extra frequencies added in. And compared to any other standard Pultec design, that you can also select different frequencies for the boost and cut. So you can still do the old trick of boosting and cutting at the same frequency, let's say 60. But on top of that, you can now decide to cut at different bands. So we can boost the 60 hertz, but we want to get rid of some muddiness higher up, let's say 180 or 240. That's doable with this unit. If we move to the high end, we will find 5 kilohertz, 6 kilohertz, 8 kilohertz, 10 kilohertz, 12 and 16 kilohertz. Same story as the other ones. 16 and 12 are for the instant air glory. Again, if you need to bring something more upfront in the mix, again, think about guitars, even percussive elements, you might want to shoot down to the 5 or 6K, which will give you that instant presence without harshness on top. Also in here, we can attenuate the 20 kilohertz, the 10 kilohertz, and the 6 kilohertz. That's funny enough compared to the 5 on the Summit Audio. If we move to the cheapest of the Pultec clones we have available in the studio, and those are the Klark Teknik ones, they sell for 200 euros each. They are mono units. Last time I checked, proper plugins of Pultec EQs, they're about the same price. I know you can strap plugins across multiple tracks, so they might make you think that you're saving money. I was really curious about trying these units, first of all because of their price. I'm like, I really want to see how Behringer, Klark Teknik, is managing to create Pultec clones at such a low price and how they actually compare to the real deals. Again, I must say, the actual knobs, they pretty big, they don't feel like, they will last forever, but all of the things you would expect are in there. The frequency selection is stepped like on the other units. Tubes are in there, transformers are in there. You might say, yeah, what tubes, what transformers? Well, you guessed right. You got Midas transformers and you got the Behringer tubes, basically. But I'm sure if you would like to modify those, you could get even closer to the originals. But I don't want to bias your opinion, so the idea here is just to run audio through the units so you can really hear for yourself if it's worth it to spend the 3,000 euros more or not. When it comes down to frequency selection, the same as the other Pultecs, you got your boost and cut at 20, 30, 60, 100 and 200 with added 2 frequencies at 400 and 800 hertz, which might be very useful to pull out. I normally go for 400s and pull out some low mids. They're kind of really masking the sound more than anything else. If you move to the second band, which is the high frequency, we will find the 3 kilohertz, 4 kilohertz, 5, 8, 10, 12 and 16. And just like the other ones, you will have a bandwidth control that allows you to set up how many frequencies around that center frequencies will be boosted. Same as before, you cut a 20, 10 and 5 kilohertz with the additional 4000 and 3000 hertz. Now that I've explained you the differences between the 3 different units and their price tag, I just want you to have a proper listen at these pieces and make your mind by yourself. We're gonna be doing our best to make sure to match the left and right on the multi-mono EQs, so the Summit Audio and the Klark Teknik. And we're also going to be using very specific meters to make sure we match the RMS and peak levels of the 3 units. We're going to be running all of the signals through the SSL, which in direct out we will record it back to our DAW.
child in your heart and he wants to make it easy. There's a child in your heart and there's a child in your heart and he wants to make it easy. There's a child in your heart and there's a child in your heart and he wants to make it easy. There's a child in your heart and
Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed our review, our comparison, and as always, make up your mind. The idea behind this show is to show you gear that you might want to, get informations about, and what we're trying to do is to get no bias in these reviews. None of this content, as you know, has been sponsored, so the idea is to really give you the full truth. We are full lovers of analog gear, so we want to share all of this content with you. Please stay tuned for more.